I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All six of them.
Who are you?
Fucking A.
Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video, and this is a request for John the Zero Cool. Thank you so much. He's a very, very nice guy, very good friend. And if anyone wants to request any other type of videos, reviews, re-reviews, topics, reactions, lists, what have you, you just send a request either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both things are down below in the info box. Now he asked for my top 11 favorite films of 1996. Now, I'll try to go a little bit further than 11, because 1996, when you look at it, it's a really good year for movies. And I came up with at least 25, at least. Now, I didn't know if I would go backwards or not. Oh, why not go backwards? Some other films I enjoyed but didn't make the list. The Birdcage, Robin Williams, gives a really solid performance. The Substitute with Tom Berenger, nice, granted unrealistic, but nice, former soldier, substitute teacher fighting students in a school. Nice bits of action in that. Bulletproof, Adam Sandler, David Wayans, underrated film. I don't think it gets to, it's not as bad as people make it out to be. It's got some laughs, got some action. James Caan is entertaining as the villain. David Wayans and Adam Sandler work well together. The Cable Guy. That was a film that when it came out, more people were talking about the fact that Jim Carrey got such a huge paycheck, and not so much the movie. But the movie's an interesting dark comedy with Jim Carrey playing a very different role at the time, as he's obsessed with Matthew Broderick's character. But number 20, let's see. Let's say 25. Number 25, I put Carnosaur 3 Primal Species, because that's, of the Carnosaur films, to me, that is the most fun. Yes, it has a very tiny budget because it was a movie produced by Roger Corman and his production, so they had very little finances. But you got Scott Valentine, who I remember from films like My Demon Lover, playing a tough military guy, and him and this group of military, very limited in scope, very limited in budget, but you have practical dinosaurs done with some puppetry, to be fair. It's not Jurassic Park quality, but Scott Valentine, his guys with guns, machine guns, fighting dinosaurs, raptors, even a T-Rex, ba 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 ba. It's bloody, people get parts of their body ripped off. If it's one of those things that you never get to see an R-rated bloody dinosaur film. If you do nowadays, it's very heavy and cartoonish CGI. If you want a dinosaur movie that is done practically with bloody, juicy, practical gore effects, and again, military team versus dinosaurs, either on the docks or on this boat, the ship. For its low budget, there's a lot of fun to be had. And yeah, I like Scott Valentine as the lead. I like this guy. Oh, I forgot his name now. I remembered his name. Anyway, like I said, for a low budget movie, this is the kind of film I prefer seeing on Sci-Fi Channel than Three-Headed Shark Attack or Shark Exorcist or shit. So, Carnosaur 3. Number 24, Jingle All the Way. Very entertaining Christmas movie, especially because of Arnold. He's a lot of fun. You got to! You got to! Who told you to meet my cookies? Put the cookie down now! While the kid, Jake Lloyd, who would be in episode 1 of Phantom Menace, he's a terrible kid actor. I'm sorry of all the troubles he went through in life after these movies, but I still thought he gave a bad performance. But I like Arnold a lot. I like the idea of using the consumerism as a background during Christmas, because that does happen, at least at the time, did happen a lot. Hell, you could make the same movie for Black Friday. And that could be a sequel. I know there's a sequel later, The Cable Guy. I mean, if this film was a huge hit and Arnold made another one, then this one should be on Black Friday. And it's a gift for his wife on Black Friday. And it'd be even more insane. But using that as a backdrop, which is relatable, sad to say, and Sinbad, I like Sinbad. I thought he worked well with Arnold. It's cool to see people like James Belushi in there, which he worked with Arnold in Red Heat. And Arnold, I mean, he punches the fuck out of a reindeer. Really good practical looking reindeer. You picked the wrong day. Arnold is the main reason to enjoy that film. Number 23, Larger Than Life. I've always enjoyed it with Bill Murray. It's more of a family film. Yes, it's a crazy idea where his father, which he didn't even know was still alive, passed away, left him not much except this elephant. Oh, well, he could get a lot of money for this, but there's hard ways to travel. So it's this journey across the country with him and this elephant. And it showcases to me that even in a more of a family picture, Bill Murray can make it work. He's a very talented performer. He's very entertaining. Also, Matthew McConaughey, to me, has one of his most interesting, crazy roles. Because Matthew McConaughey is just this fun, over-the-top redneck, battling Bill Murray. And just, if you thought you've seen Matthew McConaughey roles, he does a very different performance and a very fun, over-the-top, just crazy performance. That also was a lot of fun to see in Larger Than Life. I'm not going too in-depth in case I review these in the future. Number 22, Mission Impossible. I like the first Mission Impossible, directed by Brian De Palma. I did not watch much of the TV show, but I like the intricacies of the tasks of Tom Cruise. Emilio Estevez at the very beginning, and I remember when I was surprised at the first 15 minutes of the film because it did not go the way I thought it would go. But yeah, the way Brian De Palma shoots the sequences, keeping the tension going throughout it. The ending on the train and the helicopter, I think is an exciting finale. And it's crazy when you look at the Mission Impossible films, how different some of them are. Like, you look at the first one compared to, say, Rogue Nation, and then you look at, like, Mission Impossible 2, which I'm not a big fan of, but, you know, that has a John Woo thing, only PG-13. But the first Mission Impossible I did enjoy. Ving Rhames, he was good in that. John Reno. Let's see, I'm going to lose track of the ranking. 25, 24, 23, 22. Number 21, Extreme Measures. Extreme Measures, that's a film no one really knows about, but it's with Hugh Grant and Gene Hackman. It's kind of a spiritual sequel to that film Coma, where Hugh Grant, one of the few times he got to play a much more serious role, and this is more of a thriller where he's a doctor and he's finding these homeless people are dying and some are just begging to not be taken and people are missing. And he's looking into what's going on, and Gene Hackman, he's not in the film a whole lot, certain points. And the best way to describe the film is, as Gene Hackman puts it, if you could cure cancer by killing someone, would you? And if so, how many would you take? How many would it take before you say that's enough? And it was just cool to see Hugh Grant play a much more serious role, and to me, he pulled it off. And sadly, Extreme Measures, it came out, it did nothing, it completely bombed, and you can't even, it's not even on Blu-ray. And the DVD, I don't even know if the DVD's in print, but yeah, not released on Blu-ray, it was not much of a bomb. And it's too bad, I think it's a pretty decent thriller. Number 20, Beavis and Butthead Do America. I'm a big fan of Beavis and Butthead. I know they're going to do another one for Comedy Central, I guess. A show, I should say. But I love Beavis and Butthead. I'm a big fan. I thought their movie was hilarious. Chimichanga, cha-cha-cha. I'm Cornholio. TP for my bunhole. And the fact that you got like Bruce Willis and Demi Moore doing voices in the movie was always crazy to me, and it was just a lot of fun. That film did well. I'm surprised they did not do another movie. I forget what the rationale behind it, but that was a very cool cool movie. Beavis and Butthead Do America. Wasn't it at the end? It was like Bill Clinton at the end. Man, it's been a while since I've seen it. Let's see. Number 19 is Steve from L.A. It's a fun sequel. Granted, in retrospect, the fact that it's so similar to the first one and the CGI effects are not as great. It's not great at all, honestly. But it's still, it was the first Steve film I saw. I saw that years and years before Steve from New York. And for a time I liked it more than the first one, but as time has gone on, I mean, Steve from New York has a bit more of that grungy, dirty, like, feel. And, you know, the effects seem more charming in Steve from New York than in Steve from L.A. Plus, Isaac Hayes is a better villain than George Coreface, whatever his name is. But I still like his Steve from L.A. State Plistian, Kurt Russell was on his A game. It was cool to see people like Pam Grier, Bruce Campbell, Steve Buscemi, Stacy Keach. I love the song at the end by White Zombie. Run, baby, run away. Run, baby, run, escape from L.A. And the ending is still kick-ass. Welcome to the human race. I wish we could have gotten a third movie. Because at least with John Carpenter directing, I would give more of hope. Let's see. 18 Screamers with Peter Weller, based on a Philip K. Dick story. I liked the way it portrayed the post-apocalyptic world they were on. Peter Weller and his group of people are on another planet. They've been at this war for years and decades over this product. And they realize, you know what, we've been left behind, we've been beached. You know, they got other people to fight their fucking war, but we're not going to fight a war here anymore. And I thought Peter Weller nailed it. It's one of his better performances. And I love the mechanized little screamer models, like going in the dirt a la Tremors, but these mechanical saw you in half type of creatures and how they've been modified and a more articulate machine, so to speak. And you get some nice visceral thrills. I mean, Peter Weller did a flamethrower. I don't want to give away what happens with the Screamers if you haven't seen the film, but it's a cool sci-fi horror flick. Fuck the sequel. No need for a sequel, but Screamers is a damn good one. Speaking of sci-fi, next up is The Arrival. That's another good one, so that'd be 25. 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18. Number 17. Okay, I want to make sure I got the number right. Yeah, number 17 is The Arrival with Charlie Sheen. Again, fuck the sequel. But Zane Zeminski, I believe is this character's name. It was more of a quieter, more subtle take on what happened to Independence Day, because both came out around the same time, where it's also alien invasion, but this time from the back door, going secretly. And Charlie Sheen, I thought, despite who he is as a person, I thought he gave a very solid performance, one of his better ones. And looking into the conspiracy of what's going on and how this possible global warming is being perpetrated because of these aliens, and they're among us and they're looking like us, and people like Ron Silver, great actor who's in Time Cop and among other movies. Even some of the little bits of action, like in the finale with the big satellite dish and Charlie Sheen, this other girl, almost getting hit by this van, and this axe, like, boom, right close to Charlie Sheen's face. And The Arrival, while Independence Day, which is on the list, is more of a fun movie, I would say The Arrival is a bit more of the smarter movie compared between the two. But The Arrival is worth a look if you like sci-fi movies that are a little bit more subtle compared to Independence Day. Number 16, Maximum Risk. A lot of people don't like this film, but I've always liked Jean-Claude Van Damme's movie Maximum Risk, directed by Ringo Lam, may he rest in peace, where Van Damme finds out he had a brother who passed away, a twin brother. He wants to look into the death of that brother. And granted, this is a time when Van Damme, you could tell the drugs were taking a toll, but I still thought Van Damme's performance was good, despite knowing that there's some effects of that at that time. Natasha Henstridge, nice to see her in the movie. I like the action scenes. I thought Ringo Lam handled them very well. I like the way Ringo Lam directed certain shots early on, when that bit where he's got a fire pinpoint and the way the camera focuses in on him and on the gun. Pew. Certain points in the finale, like in this like clothesline hamper thing where he's hiding inside and he's upside down. You get some fight scenes like in this public bath shower. I think there's a little bit in the bathroom, not bathroom, the elevator. It's one of those Van Damme films that no one ever talks about, but I don't think Maximum Risk is that bad of a movie at all. Again, I remember enjoying the flick quite a bit. And I think it's a little bit underrated. Thus is at number 16. Number 15, The Rock. I mean, rest in peace, Sean Connery. Watch it again. I visualized the movie as if it's his final bout as James Bond. He just changed his name. Or maybe that's his real name, I don't know. But to me, the way I want to look at Sean Connery, James Bond, how he went off in the sunset, it was in The Rock. I just feel the action, Michael Bay, the score, Nick Cage, Ed Harris, Sean Connery kicking ass, being a badass, throwing knives into people's necks. Losers whine about their best. Winners go home and fuck the prom queen. I mean, Sean Connery, may rest in peace. Number 14, Independence Day. I mean, the great score, the colorful characters, and with you have Will Smith, you have Jeff Goldblum, you got Bill Pullman, you got Randy Quaid before he was batshit crazy. You had wonderful practical and model work of effects where they used a lot of practical. It wasn't just orgasm CGI, one of the many pitfalls of the sequel. But a lot of it looked really good because it's all tangible, real stuff. Like the White House exploding, the wall of fire going throughout the city, making plentiful buildings explode. The characters and the humor, welcome to Earth, punching the shit out of aliens. Goldblum and Will Smith flying the ship and trying to get a handle on it. Sorry, I had the map upside down. Sorry, I had the thing upside down. Okay, just go that way. Oops, what do you mean oops? The fat lady and son. Forget the fat lady. You're obsessed with the fat lady. That's what I mean. Like, you have characters with colorful personalities that stick out and stand out and are worthwhile to root for. And you have one of the greatest speeches by Bill Pullman for the bring us into the third act, to the finale. Just an ode to old school invasion flicks movies, but with a great set of characters, which we did not have in Resurgence, the sequel. What characters did we give a shit about? Will Smith died off screen. Jeff Goldblum was underused. Bill Pullman was just crazy until his character dies. So what the fuck? I mean, sequel that did not need to happen. So it's number 14. Number 13, Eraser. Arnold Schwarzenegger film. I'll put this a little bit above others because I think it's a bit more underrated because no one ever talks about Eraser. And I think it's one of the last, old school seeming Arnold movies where it's a big effects movie. Well, not counting those fucking T3, T5, T6, whatever. But I liked Arnold. I liked Vanessa Williams. I forgot his name. It's the other guy who's their ally. He was on the TV show Murphy Brown. Robert Pastorelli. I forget his name. He passed away, Sally. He was a lot of fun. The action scenes are entertaining. When he gets the big fuck off guns, shooting it, fucking car flips over him. There's a scene in the airplane and skydiving. James Caan is as the villain. That's a fun. It's a 90s movie that was an ode to Arnold's more old school action films. It was a superhero. It was like a comic book movie, superhero movie with Arnold. Those were our comic book movies back in the day. Films like Eraser. On number 12, I put Last Man Standing with Bruce Willis. Another film that no one talks about. Another film I thought is a bit underrated, where Bruce Willis comes into town and is trying to play what was that movie? It's an old Asian film. I forgot what the hell it was. Yojimbo? I want to say it was Yojimbo, where you have a character that plays off both sides in order to get the biggest payday. But it's also in the 30s, and I love the score by Ry Cooder. I love the look and atmosphere where it's always like windy and the sand blowing everywhere, and Bruce Willis' outfit and the cool look, and that was a star presence of Bruce Willis in that movie. And just like the Walter Hill showcasing the balls of wall, two Bane, like John Woo type. Well, not so much whatsoever slow motion, but just that two Bane gusto. The gunfights are fucking exciting in that. Very exciting. And again, it has that old school Western, but I say modern, but this is again like 1930s sensibility. And yeah, I love the Ry Cooder music and just some badass. I really like Last Man Standing. Actually, let me see if I got. Sorry, 29, 14, 20. Okay. So number 11 is Swingers. And I like Swingers. It's a comedy directed, no, it's not directed by Jon Favreau, but Jon Favreau stars in it with Vince Vaughn. I think it's a hilarious film. I can watch it anytime and laugh, like when Jon Favreau keeps calling, and he pretty much, he calls so many times that he talks himself out of the date because the girl is so like, I got like 15 messages of this guy. This guy's crazy. Yeah, don't call me again. He's like, wow. And the movie, I wouldn't say really has a plot. It's more just hanging out with these characters as they go through these situations. For example, when Jon Favreau and Vince Vaughn go to Vegas. Hey, Mighty's the big winner. Mighty. Oh, you fucking asshole. And I do think Vince Vaughn and Jon Favreau worked very well together. That's why they made another film, which I don't think is as good, but it's alright. Later on, they did this film, Made, which Jon Favreau did direct. And this is a decent film. I mean, I would say I like Swingers more. But yeah, I always thought Swingers was a funny movie. 10. Number 10, I put The Glimmer Man. It's a Steven Seagal film. Again, I put it a bit higher. I was like, really, man? You put it higher? Because at least Independence Day and The Rock, they get their acceptance. The Glimmer Man, I think it's one of the better Steven Seagal films, especially around that time period. And I thought it was cool to have Steven Seagal in his prime, not a fat fuck, working behind the deli of KFC. I liked his work with Tina Ivory Wayans. I like Tina Ivory Wayans anyway. I like that it dealt a bit more of a darker serial killer aspect, along with some still fun Steven Seagal Atito stuff. Like the credit card with a blade, he cuts some people's throats. Even the ending where he's let someone punch his nose and his nose is bleeding. You still have that Steven Seagal attitude that worked well for movies like that. So I've always, that's a Seagal film I always liked even when I first saw it back in the day. And sadly, no Blu-ray. That's like one of the only Seagal films of his prime that has no Blu-ray. I mean, I'm sorry, that deserves a Blu-ray more than fucking Born to Raise Hell, whatever the fuck direct-to-video film you want to mention. That's just my opinion. Number 9, The Long Kiss Goodnight. Rennie Harlan. You want to see a good version of Captain Marvel? Go watch Long Kiss Goodnight. Billy, what are you talking about? A movie where a woman who loses her memory, regains her memory, finds out that she's a lot more special than she thought, and can kick ass and take names, and she partners up with Samuel L. Jackson. And she doesn't know who to trust. On Long Kiss Goodnight, you had Rennie Harlan's solid direction, because I think he's a great action director. Samuel L. Jackson have a lot of fun with his role. Excellently done action sequences. And Gina Davis, who is a badass. She worked well in the early parts of the film, and when she changes her hair, colors her hair, dyes her hair. Charlie the Spy. She's fucking badass. Samuel L. Jackson is very likable as the private eye who helps her at first try to help regain her memory, but then when all the shit hits the fan, tries to help her out. Yes, Miss Daisy, I keep honking. Badass movie. For people to, yeah, we haven't had any strong ladies until 5 years ago. They haven't watched films like The Long Kiss Goodnight. Badass film. So that's number 9. Number 8, The Frighteners. The Frighteners, The Frighteners is the Peter Jackson film no one mentions. Like, people just seemingly forget about the Frighteners. But I think Michael J. Fox, that's one of his more underrated roles. It was cool to see him star in this R-rated horror film, which was supposed to be PG-13, but The Frighteners was Peter Jackson's version of PG-13. Just later he said, well, if I knew it was going to be rated R, I would have made it a hell lot more bloody. And it's intense, especially the third act, where you see Jake Busey and the past of him and his girlfriend going through and wiping people out, while Michael J. Fox in the present time dealing with Jeffrey Combs, and who's a crazy motherfucker in that movie, Jeffrey Combs' character, and how it interacts with the Michael J. Fox with the ghosts, and it has a weird, interesting tone to that film. And to see Michael J. Fox in that type of role, it was different for him, unique, and it was cool to see. And you definitely have Peter Jackson's taste and sense of humor throughout that flick. The Frighteners deserves a lot more love. Number 7, Happy Gilmore, my favorite Adam Sandler film. I think it's hilarious. I can still laugh my butt off watching that film to this day. Probably my favorite bit would be, why don't you go home? That's your home. Are you too good for your home? Answer me. Suck my white ass balls. It's still hilarious. And Adam Sandler doesn't really do that kind anymore of comedy. Because it's like he doesn't have the energy for that stuff. It's more, let me have a funny, weird voice. Or let me play a romantic lead and kind of gloss along. Because we're in a different location. Look where we're here. And look at all my friends. And he had his friends in Happy Gilmore, but he still felt like more of a force compared to a film like this. Even then, back then, at least you had people like Norm Macdonald and Chris Farley. Now it's just Rob Schneider and Shaquille O'Neal. I'll take Chris Farley and Norm Macdonald over fucking Shaquille O'Neal and Rob Schneider. But that's just me. Number 6, Twister. Twister I love. I love Bill Paxton. May he rest in peace. Helen Hunt. Having grown up in the Midwest, of all the disasters, movies and such, tornadoes is the thing that would hook me the most. Because I grew up in Iowa. We're not going to have hurricanes in Iowa. We're not going to have earthquakes in Iowa. But you could have a tornado, and so that's the one of the disaster movies that would fixate me the most. And there's not a lot of tornado movies that have a big budget quality. I liked Into the Storm, which came out later, but you count on one hand how many big budget tornado movies there are. It's just not a thing, and so it makes it seem more unique. And I love the crew of Bill Paxton, like Alan Ruck, and it's a Philip Seymour Hoffman, very different role for him. Like telling the story, oh, one day he threw the bottle and he was naked, butt naked. I was not naked, butt naked. He threw the bottle after he said, have a drink, and it never came down. And then Bill Paxton's like, honey, these are all lies. There was an old one, and I killed him. Yes. And I miss Bill Paxton, and that's one of the roles, along with this movie, that really showcases talents, and it's still a fun movie to watch to this day, Twister. Number 5, Daylight. Now, yes, Daylight has issues where the supporting cast are very annoying, and I don't care if they live or die. But there's enough stuff I love that even with that big detriment, I still really love Daylight because I love Stallone's performance in the movie. I love him being in this big budget disaster movie. I love the effects and all the stuff that just keeps on happening with Like when Stallone, and you see a Stallone there with this water cascading over him. He's got to put this bomb here so that it doesn't flood. And the way the camera pulls back as he's hanging for dear life. And I love the score. The score is beautiful. I love the song at the end. Whenever There's Love. Another beautiful song, beautiful score. It was shot, the way it was shot, the effects used, Stallone's performance. All that worked very well. Does it have issues? Yeah, you did not need a love story, which it didn't work. And the supporting characters were very unlikable. But it made me feel more sorry for Stallone. But the positives I mentioned outweigh them so much that I had to put Daylight in the top 5 for me. Number 4, Tremors 2 Aftershocks. That's how much I love Tremors 2. I'm a big fan of that movie. I love Fred Ward. It was nice to see him get the lead role in that. I love that seeing the continuation of Tremors done in a way that does not piss on the original. That's a worthwhile to the original. I love the addition of the Shriekers. Michael Gross. It was nice that he got a bit of a bigger role. It's still fun. It's still entertaining. And for what it did on a budget that made it go direct-to-video, they pulled it off fairly well. And to me, it's one of the best direct-to-video films, especially direct-to-video sequels. So, number 3, From Dusk Till Dawn, one of my favorite vampire films. I love From Dusk Till Dawn. What more can I say? George Clooney, his most badass role. Tarantino writing, Robert Rodriguez directing. You get a little bit of, almost like a little bit of Soul Precinct 13, the third act, where they're in the bar and the vampires are coming outside and they're just, George Clooney is impaling vampires with the drill, the jackhammer. Harvey Keitel with the shotgun that's like a cross. Yeah, people like Tom Savini, Fred Williamson. I bet you Harvey Keitel. Very, very solid vampire film. I'd probably say my favorite vampire movie. It's that and the original Fright Night. Although I do like The Lost Boys quite a bit, but I did. It'd be Fright Night or From Dusk Till Dawn. Number 2, Broken Arrow. I fucking love Broken Arrow. It's my kind of action movie, directed by John Woo. You got Christian Slater as the hero. You got John Travolta as the bad guy. He's a lot of fun as the bad guy. Yeah, you mind thinking, yeah, ain't it cool? One of my favorite scores, which is by Hans Zimmer, especially, I forget the name of the piece of music. It's during the fist fight at the end. And just, I love the action sequences. John Woo shined tremendously in those action sequences. And you have a good hero, a good bad guy, wonderfully done action scenes, shootouts, chases, all the stuff on the train at the end. Christian Slater jumping and hitting Howie Long, who then goes out the fucking train. The way the bad guy, Travolta, gets killed after the fucking beating. Like, yeah. Hitting the shit out of Travolta. This is a scene much earlier on where Christian Slater and I think Samantha Mathis from the Super Mario Brothers movie. There's a helicopter and there's a really cool shot where it's the two of them and there's like a helicopter right behind them crashing right behind them. I'm like, that looked really cool. It's like, how did they do that? But there's no features, so I don't know. I'm guessing model work, but the way it was done looked like it was right behind our characters. Very well done. It's so much fun to watch Broken Arrow. So underrated too. No one ever talks about that movie. Now, number 1, the thing is, some people say 95, other places say 96. And that's Deadly Outbreak, also known as, Deadly Takeover. See, some places say 95, but then you look at other places, they say it came out on video in 96. So I don't know if it's 95 or 96. Again, you look up some places, they say 95. Other places say 96. So I put it in here just in case. This is more of This movie never gets talked about. It never get mentioned. It's never brought up. And to me, this is a perfect example of, yes, it's not the most original movie. It's, you could call it a basic generic action film. But what it does very well for its budget. If direct-to-video films were like Deadly Outbreak, which stars Jeff Speedman, direct-to-video films, VOD films, however you want to put it, would be a much better state. Because you have your hero, Jeff Speedman, you got your villain, Ron Silver, and you got fisticuffs. You got, can't even call them car chases, but chases through the tunnels and these certain, like, I don't know what you call them, ATV, like four-wheelers. You got it, the construction equipment going in, blasting everywhere, big old shootouts, explosions, shooting people in the balls and going, just forgot your bulletproof cup. I mean, you got big action, excitement, and escapism. And this is a film that went straight to video, but I've seen films that go on the theaters that have less fun, escapism, popcorn excitement than this. Again, your hero shoots a guy in the balls and says, I just forgot your bulletproof cup. And one of the times with Jeff Speedman that he was able to shine. He's likable, he's funny, it's a very basic film in the fact of, you ever seen Die Hard? Here you go, it's a Die Hard type of scenario. And there's little cheats they had to do because of the lack of budget, but for the most part, a lot of it's done on set, and it's just impressive. Like, wow, I get impressed when you have this amount of budget and you give me this amount of stuff. Drive and Mark Dacascos in 1997, this film, that does, because I've seen so many films that cost $200 million, but then give me this. So when a movie has this budget and it gives me this, I want to applaud them. I want to give them accolades. Just that is not done all the time. So if you want to say it's a 95 film, then I guess it'd be Broken Arrow is number one. But again, other places say 96. On Wikipedia, I looked on the side and it even says like went to video on blank blank 1996. So I just put on here just in case. And actually, is this film here? Which, it's not on DVD, it's not on Blu-ray. Very nice guy, classic rocker. I don't even know if he's still around. I haven't heard from him in ages. Classic rocker, if you watch this, please let me know if you're doing okay. He had sent me this, and I'd always appreciated it. Because, he printed this off, burned it for me. What does this say on the back? Does it say a year on the back? No. Full screen. This might be like a fan cover. Again, for people to print this type of stuff out. Because it's never been released. In the US, you can probably find it on YouTube. Maybe not, I don't know, because they'd probably be dicks about it, but yeah, this is a movie that deserves a lot more than it's gotten, and it's sad. No, there's no date on here. But yeah, I love Deadly Outbreak. It just deserves so much more than it's gotten. Give it a fucking release already. Someone, please. Maybe one that's not in full screen. With that said, thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.